So this lecture is going to be about understanding file extensions and categorization, which we will use to categorize files for the automation of organizing a folder. So to effectively organize files, we have to categorize them in some way. And a simple approach to do that is to sort them based on the file extensions. So what I mean by that are these dot blah, blah, blah. So this Excel file has an extension .xlsx. This PDF file has a .pdf extension. So this is how we are going to go about categorizing each file to then place it in a folder to organize all of these files. So, hello. So for example, JPEGs and PNG files will go into a images folder, while PDF and docx extension files will go into a documents folder. So what you saw was just me manually doing this in like 3x time, but it was me manually doing this. So we are going to use this categorization idea to categorize files first in a list in Python. But first, before we start to categorize, we have to define categories. And to do that, we're going to use a Python dictionary to map file extensions to folder names. So our dictionary here is called file categories, and it maps different file types like images or documents, spreadsheets, scripts, um, to a list of extensions that are associated with those types. So the keys of this dictionary are the categories or file types, which are images, documents, spreadsheets, and scripts. And then the values are the list of extensions associated with each of the keys. So images are could be JPEG, PNG, or GIF. Documents are PDF, text, docx, PPTX, and so on and so forth. So we are going to first test this categorization on a list of test files. So this is kind of simulating a directory or folder, um, but instead of having to use the modules OS and shutil to access and create directories, we're just going to start by categorizing these items within a list. So we have a list of test files, photo.jpg, report.pdf. We've got an Excel spreadsheet, a script, and some random file that has an extension that we may or may not know or be familiar with. But it's just an example of a general random file. Then once we actually start the categorization process, we need to extract the file extensions. So the file extensions are those .jpegs, .pdfs, anything after the dot. So photo.jpg is one of that guy. We've got report.pdf. Whoops. And then the rest of that list. So what's happening in this line of code is that we are creating a variable called file extension, and that is going to hold the result of the right side of our equal sign here. So we're using the operating system module to split the path, which is given via the file name. And that path is split into two components. This photo.jpg will be split into basically photo, comma, and then the second item is .jpg. And report.pdf will be split into report, comma, PDF. So this part here underlined in green, hi bird, is giving us this list of the file name that is given. In this case, we're looking at photo.jpg and splitting it into the two components, photo and .jpg. And then the final component of this assignment is extracting the first element, or I shouldn't say first element, it's the element at index 1. Which when we talked about indices, indexes start at 0, right? And then the next one is index 1, 2, and so on and so forth. So in our list here of photo and .jpg, photo is at index 0 and .jpg is at index 1. So this right side of our assignment is extracting our extension, which is at index 1 of this split file name. So our file extension is going to, as we loop, which I'll show you, this line is going to be part of the loop. As we go through each item in our list of files, we will be looking at the extensions .jpg, .pdf, there was a .py in there, there was an XLSX. So the file extension is what we're going to be using to categorize the file. So looking at that as part of the more complete categorization, for each file within our list of test files, we're extracting the extension, and then we are giving it a default category, which is others. But then we want to actually loop through our dictionary items and check if the extension that we extracted is within the values associated with the current key that we're looking at. And if that file extension is in that list, then we want to update the category of that current file to the appropriate key. And then finally, we will print where the file belongs. So to trace this loop, let's start from the beginning of our test files list, which our first test file is photo.jpg. So photo.jpg is at index 0 of our test files list. I should do that. So test the first index The first element in our test files list is photo.jpg. So that is the first file that we're looking at. We're extracting the file extension from that item, which gives us .jpg. Then we're assigning category to be others, but we want to loop through our dictionary, which I'll remind you looks a little bit something like this. Images, and we've got JPEG, PNG, and GIF. And then we've also got documents, which I'm abbreviating here because I only have so much room, but those are PDFs, .text, um, doc, etc. So we have our dictionary of categories and extensions associated with those categories. So once we get to this point in our nested for loop structure here, for each folder, which is going to be first images, and each of the list of extensions associated with that folder, which images is JPEG, PNG, GIF. For each of these things in our dictionary file categories, if the file extension, which we have extracted above, is within the list of extensions, then we want to update the category for that file to be the name of the folder that we're looking at. And if that is the case, then we're going to break out of this loop and then say that we've found the category name of the file. If we haven't found a folder with a matching extension, then the category will continue to be others for the file name. So continuing on with this first element, which is photo.jpg, JPEG is the extension that we extracted. So we are going to loop through our category dictionary. Images, hi bird. Images is our first folder, and its list of extension values is JPEG, PNG, and GIF. And we are going to check if file extension, which at this point is .jpg, is in extensions. And it indeed is. Cool. So this evaluates to true. So this happens. And this being our folder name, which is images, is going to be assigned to the category of our current file. So we will break out of this inner loop and print that photo.jpg belongs to images. Cool. So if we were to continue with our list of files, test files, we will get report.txt or report.pdf next. So test files, the element at index 1 of test files is report.pdf. I keep forgetting the P. I don't know why. Okay, so our current file name is report.pdf. We extract the file extension from this, from this file name, which is going to give us PDF. So PDF is our current file extension. We give the default category others, and then we start looping through our file categories again. We always start with images because that's the first item in the dictionary. We check the extensions um, of images. So we are checking, okay, is PDF in our list of extensions for images? It's not. So this category update does not happen. And then we go through another round in our loop. So we've looked through images. Now we've got to check, okay, we're looking at the documents folder now. Hi, Bird. And the extensions for documents are PDF, text, and doc. So now we're looking, okay, our file extension is that of our current file is PDF. Is PDF in our documents list? It is. So this evaluates to true. And then our update happens. So the folder name is documents. And that is what our category is now equal to and will break. So now we get to the print statement and we say report.pdf belongs to documents. And I'm not going to trace every single item of the test files list because that would make this video so long. But I just wanted to show you the first couple items, doing what we call tracing of the loops, to show you what the variable values are as you go through the loop and kind of how it works out logically. So I'm going to clear all my drawings. And if we were to actually run this entire script, so we've got our categories, the test files, and then that actual categorization, we get this as output. So photo.jpg belongs to images, report.pdf belongs to documents, which you just saw me trace the loops to get those outcomes. And then the same thing happens for the last three items in our test files list. And that's it. So this script that you see with the output is not moving files yet. It is just giving us some output to categorize where, like based on the extension, where the file would belong, like what folder it should belong to. So using this approach, we can write a script that can automatically sort files into the right folders. And to do that, I'm going to show you this script, which is organize.py. And since for this, we are actually going to be moving files and creating directories, I am importing the OS and shutil modules. We have the same file categories, dictionary defined. Maybe it's a little bit different, but it's the same idea. We've got images, documents, spreadsheets, and scripts as our categories, and then each of them have associated extensions. And then we have a function that organizes the folder. So it takes a path given by the user, and for each of the file names within that path, we are going to get the extension and determine its category, and then move. Well, first we create the target folder if it doesn't exist yet, and then we actually move the file. And in our main here is where we actually call the function and get the name of the folder we'd like to organize. So I will point out here that we have in my week 7 directory, there is the organize.py script, which has all the code here to actually organize the files into categorized subfolders. And the unorganized directory or folder that I want to organize is my files. And this has a PDF, it's got a CSV file, it's got a docx, it's got a Java program and a .class file for the Java program, and a couple images. So I want to use my organize.py script to organize this folder into images, documents, spreadsheets, and scripts. So to do that, I need to change my directory. So I need to go to week 7 because that is where my script is. And I want to run organize.py and pay very close attention to this file explorer on the side and watch what happens. So in the terminal, it's asking enter the name of the folder you'd like to organize. I'm going to say my files. And that when I pressed enter, it printed that it moved each of the files to its appropriate folder. And now my files has 4 separate folders within it containing the documents and images, scripts, and spreadsheets. So last couple things, in summary, we are using the code that we wrote is defining categories using a dictionary. And we also extract the file extension from a file name. And we then match the file extension to a predefined category, whether that's document, image, screen, spreadsheet, or script. And then if it doesn't fit into any of those defined categories, then it defaults to others. So that is basically what you need to know for Lab 6 and part 1 of Project 1.